From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production, the NFL Bet Exchange, hosted by my man, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod, Jeff Dawson.
And here we are. It is time for the premier sport. Oh, no. I'm sorry. It is time for the NFL Bet Exchange. And this is really like our preview show. This isn't even like me counting this as a seasonal episode, but we are entering season 4 of the NFL Bet Exchange. And I'm one of your hosts, the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and none other than the Don of Cape Cod himself is in the building with us once again for the 4th year. My man, my co-host, the co-pilot, the Don of Cape Cod, one more time, Mr. Jeff Dawson. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm blessed and honored to be a part of a show that keeps growing. Last year, our numbers were off the charts. I think we were each, well over 20 plus units. Some good weeks, some great weeks, some bad weeks, like any week in the NFL can be. You're a hero one week and a zero the next week, but that's the NFL. Last night we kicked off with a couple preseason games. Kind of funny. The moves came in. The Texans boxed the wire against the Patriots and the under. And, quick start by the Vikings, but Seattle flexed its muscles and they win and cover and it goes over. So we got a handful of games tonight, but we're here to break down the AFC and NFC East. And I'm glad to be a part, sir.
Well, I'm not going to sit up in here and break down preseason games. It's evaluation. You know that. I'm not worried about guys who were playing in the XFL and USFL in 2 weeks.
Well, I told you yesterday on our show, the Midday Market Report, our weekly Thursday show at EC Sports Invest, that the talk today would be about one name on the Patriots and one name only. And it was Malik Cunningham. How could he go undrafted? How the hell can anyone see the talent that this kid has as he runs in for a touchdown late? But, the next coming to Colin Kaepernick now and, should be in front of Bailey Zappi and now competing for Mac Jones in the starting job. So it's comical. It's just for us, as we're getting ready for fantasy football. And I sent you the projections. I hope you got them the other day. We'll be updating them as well. But, just our guys don't get hurt. That's all. Just don't get hurt. Put them in bubble wrap. Don't play. We don't need to see you.
I heard that. Well, let's go ahead and start this thing off. And, it starts off in West New York, Buffalo, of all places, Buffalo. And it's crazy when I figured out how New York really works as a state. And it's like Buffalo's like at the beginning, like as soon as you ride into New York, you're in Buffalo. And then somebody was like, dude, it's 3.5 hours away from the city. I said, how does that happen in this state is not even that big? Like literally, yeah, it's driving to Vegas from Buffalo to NYC. It's crazy. But the real New York football team, New York State football team, the only team that actually plays in the state of New York, the Buffalo Bills. Jeff, last season they came into the year, they finished up with the best record in the division, 13-3. Lots of expectations. I myself picked them to win the Super Bowl last year. They didn't even get to the conference championship game. It seems like the team kind of went to pieces at the end of the year. And this is a 13-3 team, but you never, after what happened to DeMar Hamlin, you never had confidence in them again to win a Super Bowl after that, because you knew that they were a dejected bunch and it pretty much like really broke them, season-wise. And it's just pretty much wrap it up and let's get to next year. Even though I tried to hold the faith and feel like they were going to really do something, the writing was on the wall about 2 minutes into the Bengals game that they weren't going to do much of anything. And pretty much this year with them, what are your thoughts? And I'll go ahead and I'll jump in and I'll give you my thoughts on, but I want to hear your thoughts first.
I think you nailed it. The loss of, what was it, the OC to Philly, you could start to see some chinks in the armor with Josh Allen making some boneheaded throws as the season progressed. I too had them winning the AFC, winning the Super Bowl, but the writing was on the wall. They never established a true running game. They started to leak oil, and then the Hamlin injury, and then the rest was history. Cincinnati came into town in the playoffs, and snowy, wintry Buffalo day. And I think it was 14 or 13-0 before you blinked, and the rest was history. And they've made some moves. They upgraded some spots. James Cook, another year older. They bring in Damian Harris from the New England Patriots. They still have Diggs. They still have Gabe Davis. They add Kincaid at tight end. It's a team where I guess you got to decide, Pops, really is the Hamlin situation something that they're going to use as a motivational factor to say, hey, we lost focus. And they're not the targeted team now in the AFC. And they're not the targeted the AFC East. It's Aaron Rodgers and the New York Jets. So I have mixed emotions about the Bills this year. I have mixed emotions about how well they'll do in the East. So I'm kind of my expectations compared to last year are really tempered, Pops.
Well, me on the other hand, I just feel like, you know what, this team had their momentum. It looked good. It looked real good. They had the momentum. All that stuff was great for them. Josh Allen looked like an MVP candidate. He looked like he was about to become one of the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL. You also have Stephon Diggs, who you felt top 5 receivers in the league as well too. But then when you look up, it's no running game. And when you think about the running gun, the running gun offense that they had, the K gun, offense that they had, the K gun point guard was Thurman Thomas, literally. And pretty much he was the point man to everything. So if Thurman was running, it was Thurman's running through that coming up at shotgun. If Thurman was catching a pass off a screen or something like that, that's important too, because that opens up certain different lanes. And then the play action situation as well too. And probably the greatest play of all for the Bills, that draw going up the middle as well too. You had so many different options. Now, if they had a guy like Zeke Elliott back there with Josh Allen, they would probably be a team that you say, hey, they might have a good shot this year, even though you say Zeke is a little beat up, but you got a good system going on over there in Buffalo that you could thrive in with a guy like Zeke. But they're probably not going to look at that. But I truly do think that this Bills team is going to regress next year. When I look at how they're setting them up, they have themselves at win-loss of over under a 10.5. Division championship is minus 115. That's one of the bigger favorites to win their division as well too. They're not even plus money. So I think that it's an oversell with Buffalo, because you're just kind of looking at the eye test of what you saw last year. And they did bring back a lot of their roster, but Von Miller's a year older with that injury. I don't think that it's going to be the way that they think it's going to be this year in Buffalo. I really feel like if they can win 10 games, good for them. But I got them going under this year, Jeff. And I think that a division championship with those odds, I'll pass on that one as well too.
It's kind of funny, 10-7, 11-6. I could see it either which way. If I had to bet today, I think I would lean the under, and I think a 10-7 is a good direction there. Do I see them winning the division? Put it this way: can they win the division? Of course, they can win the division. Today, do I see them winning the division? I don't. The difference between Thurman Thomas and James Cook, north-south, where they don't have that true north-south runner. It's more, got to bob and weave and then stick and move. And Damian Harris will help. But again, offensively, they do not establish the run game. They'd rather have Josh scramble and run and move the chains versus establishing the run game. So I agree with you there. I don't have high expectations like I did last year. Maybe I was drinking the Kool-Aid. And hey, listen, they could easily take it to another level. I just think there's too many moving parts in the division, never mind the AFC, where I'll take a hard pass. I'm not buying the sizzle this year. And again, I don't think they win the division. And I don't think, obviously, they're heading to the Super Bowl, Pops.
Right. And so when I say under 10.5, I'm going to have my list of all that stuff at the end. And I know Jeff will give that to me as well, too. When we get to the final division day, we'll have all the review of everything, and we'll pick our Super Bowl champion and AFC, NFC championship representatives, division winners, all that stuff. So we'll save that for that day. For that day. We're not going to spoil it because we still got a lot of preseason to go through, and it'd just be dumb if I'd be like, well, today the Bills are going to win the title, and then Josh Allen snaps his Achilles. It's just no, not yet. All right, so let's go ahead and move on to a team that I'm actually kind of keen to, and I know that they're going to probably go crazy when I say this, but the Miami Dolphins, Jeff, the Miami Dolphins, man, I'm telling you right now, that team 2022 last year, 9-8, weren't they 6-1 at one point, 7-1 at one point, and they wound up losing. They wound up going 2-7 at the end, and pretty much that's just because Tua got hurt, and that was key. It kind of showed that they messed up when it came to having a backup, a legit backup quarterback for Tua, even though I felt like, Bridgewater wasn't there anymore. Was Bridgewater there with them last year? And he got hurt. Yeah, Bridgewater was there and he got hurt. And he was legit. We know Teddy, man. That injury that happened to his leg pretty much ended his career. He's just going on. It's just courage right now for him. But all in all, I truly do feel that Miami, if Tua would have been able to stay healthy, they would have won the division last year because they had the best defense in the division. And they would have been able to actually make some moves in the playoffs if they didn't have such a worrisome attitude, not from their inner circle, but from the outer circle of the NFL as well, too. Jeff, go ahead and give us an idea of what to expect from Miami this year.
Well, it's kind of funny we're on the same horse here. Again, obviously, we don't have the crystal ball. We don't have Biff's almanac. How many games is Tua going to play? 17, 16, 14. We don't know. The dynamic duo of Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Mike Gesicki now with the Patriots. Excuse me. Running back situation of Mozart, of Jeff Wilson. I love me some Devin Achane. I'm expecting big things for him. Dalvin Cook still in the mix to potentially land over there. There was a stat brought up by Veasan yesterday, going back to how they ended the year 2 years ago and how they started the year last year, where they put together like an 18-4 stretcher, some crazy number. Again, all this team is driven as long as Tua is playing. I love the defense. I love the coach. This is my team to win the AFC East this year. And again, I think become very, very dangerous if they have a great year and are hosting a playoff game versus traveling on the road to a cold weather state. So I am Dolphins for the AFC East, Pops.
All right, so Jeff loves the Dolphins there. Let's go ahead and look at their win-loss over under 9.5, division championship plus 260. See, all this is attractive. All of this is very attractive. You know what I mean? And I feel like odds makers are kind of doing this because they don't know what the status of Tua is going to be. And so that's why they feel like, okay, put them at a 9.5 because we don't know exactly what they can be. But the way that they've set this team up this year, they've set this team up to be a playoff team this year. Yeah, Jalen Ramsey getting hurt is one thing, but one thing about Jalen Ramsey is he's a veteran now, and Jalen Ramsey can use and see. It's not always about what a guy does on the field for you, Jeff, in these situations. Sometimes it's about what a guy brings to the table as the player who he already is and the knowledge that he already has. One thing about Deion Sanders, the reason why he's doing so well in coaching, there's an old highlight of Deion when he was playing with the Cowboys. It's a Monday Night Football game. They're going against the Giants, and they're blowing the Giants out too, Jeff. And I know you've seen this video before. It's an NFL films tape. And what happened is that Deion started schooling the cornerback on how to stick the receiver during the game. And the corner kept getting burnt. Deion then goes and pulls that guy out to say, I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. Deion backpedals 5-10 yards, gets an interception. I think he did a pick 6 on that one as well, too. And they're like, why is Deion in the game? Well, Deion wanted to show his teammate exactly how you cover this spot. And I think when you got a guy like Jalen Ramsey, who's had as much success as he's had in this league, even though he's a spotlighted cornerback, when you're that good at what you do, whenever you make a mistake, they're gonna highlight it. So he's not as bad as they want him to be. And so pretty much, I feel like with him being a part of your defense now, he can be a good leader for this group, because that's what you're really asking him to do now. You're not asking him to be this superb cornerback. You're asking him to be a do what he knows and to lead the guys that are behind him. And I think that's exactly the mentality that Miami's trying to latch on to, because they got a good room of vets and they got a good room of youth, and everybody comes together so well. But I think, though, at the end of the day, it comes down to leadership, and nobody talks about that with Tua. But Tua is a great leader. It's obvious, because guys only follow who they like, and he has this team step and toe with him. And nobody wanted him to sit out when he had those concussions. If this was 30 years ago, Tua wouldn't have had no issues coming back. He would have been back the next week. And I kind of side with Tua, because he's the player. If he feels like he can play, let him play. These are things that he can deal with after the fact, because you guys say you care, but you don't care. You only care because he's on your team right now. But if he cared, you would care more. You would care about all these veterans that have headaches every day. They all have headaches every single day. So what makes Tua different from them? So when I get down to how I look at this situation, I'm with you, Jeff. I feel like this should be your favorite, because they have the best roster in the group. It doesn't matter. Yes, the Jets have the best they have the best, the big name quarterback, but he's not even the best quarterback in this division. Let's keep it real. And we know that Miami is good for business in the NFL as well, too. And when Miami's good, the league is good. And I would love to see Miami back in that elite position where they're actually getting Sunday night football games again, Monday night football games again, and it actually matters, because I grew up with the Don Shulas and Dan Marinos and Mark Super Duper and Mark Clayton and all those guys. And that was a really good thing for the NFL at the end of the day. So I truly do feel that Miami is on the brink of having the team that they've been visualizing for the last decade or so. And I think the time is now. And I'm going to keep it real with you. This coach is on the hot seat. He can't have a losing record this year, because if they wind up having a losing record, it's finito. You're done, buddy.
No, I agree. I think the writing's on the wall. I think it's a team with speed to burn. I think offensively they have all the answers. I think defensively they're underrated. They get the home cooking early in the year with the humidity down there in South Beach. I like everything there. Looking at the numbers, I will gladly jump on the plus 260. I will gladly jump on the over. I could see these guys getting to 11 wins easily. I think they're the team to beat in the East, Pops. I do. And don't forget, too, they added Mike White as the backup to Tua. So, he's had some success over there in New York. He knows the division. So not that he could beat Tua, but he can find the open receiver, and that's what they are. Get Hill and get Waddle in open space, lead them, and they'll take care of it from there.
I really want them to figure out another backup quarterback, though. I'm not sold on Mike White like everybody else. I truly am. Am not. I feel like he literally ruined the Jets season last year when he came in because he did absolutely nothing. You know what I mean? I know he threw some good passes or whatever a few times, but he was absolutely a backup. He's not. Don't ever put that guy in the idea of being a legit starter in this league. Like literally, I was arguing with Jets fans about his credibility in the league, and they were like, "No, this guy's a future Pro Bowler." And I just was like, "This is why you guys haven't won shit in 40 years." So because you believe, dude, if the guy was any good, they would have you would have paid him, and you didn't. You know what I mean? So he's a backup. Backup. You know what I mean? Backup. Backup's almost is almost almost safe is one of the safest jobs in the NFL. Backup quarterback. You know what I mean? You almost damn near safer than the kicker and the punter because when are you going to play? Seriously. All right. So let's go ahead and jump into Jeff. Jeff might want to lead a room for this one. Or if you have anybody who is a New England homer, they might want to lead. I'm just joking, but New England last year, 20 losing record for Belichick, very rare. But this team was in the playoff picture most of the year. Mm-hmm. And they just ran into the buzzsaw at the end of the year because they didn't have the finishers. And, we know Belichick for having finishers, and he just doesn't have them anymore. And, pretty much I know that Mac Jones was very hyped up when he came in, but it seems like they're ready to show him the front door right now in New England. Like anything to show him the front door. I feel like Bill Belichick is probably not on the hot seat, but Bill Belichick's smart enough to know that when it's time to walk away. And I know that he knows that this season is a make or break for him. If this team doesn't win more than 9 games or so, if they don't have a winning record this year, Bill has to really consider moving on, in my opinion, because it's just really telling on where we're going as a franchise with the Patriots. We already moved on from Tom almost 3, 4, 5 years ago. Bill, you're still here. We're not winning game. We've been to the playoffs once since Tom left. What are we doing here, Bill? You're one of the oldest coaches in the league right now. We know that you got a great system. We know that everything works out, but we're not winning anymore. So, we have to figure it out. What are we going to do here? You know what I mean? That's a big question that you do have with the Patriots. But when you look at Bill Belichick and you look at the man Bill Belichick is and what he's created in New England, you always have to take them as serious as possible. These guys are literally like, you think they're dead, but they're not. You know what I mean? They're literally the Undertaker of the AFC East. You know what I mean? You hit him with every finishing move that you could, and the guy still raises from the dead. And that's where you have to factor in New England being such a spoiler in this division this year. Because New England's going 3-3. They're not going to have an under 500 record in the East. We know this. The Jets, that's a guaranteed win, either in New York or in New England. That doesn't matter. Miami is probably a guaranteed win in New England. And Buffalo has been giving you some issues over the last few years. But we know that you're going to match up with all 3 of them. And you're going to be their biggest headache throughout the season. So I truly do feel that with New England, it's a really 50-50 situation on how you book it. What are your thoughts about your local team?
Well, you asked about Bill. Bill's got 19 wins to pass Shula. I was on Sports Map Radio last night where the host asked me, he got a 6.5 number in one of the local shops. And as you're putting up 7.5 for the under-overs, Bill's trying to recreate the late 90s, early 2000s where they won with defense. They got the kid from Oregon, Christian Gonzalez. Their defense will be good. I really want to say this, Pops. I think, believe it or not, they might have the best defense in the East. Now, offensively, what was their biggest move of the year? They brought Bill O'Brien in to be the OC to help Mac. Offensively, they let Damian Harris go to Buffalo. They have Ramondre Stevenson and a cloud of dust. Their old line is in shambles right now. Wide receivers, we don't know. Kendrick Bourne, Devontae Parker, Thornton, who's struggling real bad. They brought over Juju Smith-Schuster, Mike Gesicki at tight end. They still have Hunter Henry. So many question marks there. They're going to try to beat you 21-20 every week. I think they're going to be a thorn in the side to a lot of teams. They open up at home against Philly. That will be a huge, huge test. I would put Philly on upset alert, believe it or not, that opening week in New England there. I think that first week will tell a big, big tale on where this team is going. They cannot go. They have a hard time competing with high octane offenses. They got Jalen Hurts. They got, I think they got Burrow this year. I think they got Mahomes this year. They got Josh Allen twice. They got obviously Aaron Rodgers twice, Tua twice. So your 6.5 number, I would go to the over. I think defensively they're going to keep them in a lot of games. Offensively, big question, is Ramonda touching the ball 20, 25 times a game? Is it 21-20? Is it 23-20? Any game that they got to score more than 24 points will most likely be a loss. But I think they are actually a nice value this year because everyone's overlooking them compared to what's here in the East. Are they going to win the division? No. But at plus 500, someone wants a nice beer coaster or something to hang on the wall to hold on to. God bless you. But again, he's here to get those 19 wins. I could see a 9-8 this year. Could slip to 8-9. If you're talking a 6-11, if you're talking a 5-12, well, Bill might be showing the door, Pops.
Well, to be honest with you, I'm with you. I was going to say that too. I feel like this team is they're over 7.5. I feel like that's going to happen, and I feel like they're more of a 8 that they're going to cause issues. They're going to be right there in the mix of trying to make the playoffs. Jeff, we know this because it's going to get ugly in the AFC on a weekly basis. It's going to be It's going to be upsets nobody sees coming. And the Patriots are going to be right in the middle of that because going to Foxborough is still a tough task. It's been a tough task for the last 60 years. So we know, and especially when it gets to the bad weather in New England as well, too. Oh, yeah, that's them all day. But we'll see, though. We just don't have the same dominant bunch that we had with the Patriots. The Patriots used to be a square in the NFL. Those days are long gone now. Those days are long gone. But that 5-1 is a little sexy though. You know what I mean? It's sexy. It's sexy. All right, so let's get into the star of the division. They're always the star of the division because they're the New York team. They're the big market team. They're the team that is always, the equivalent of the same team that's on my head. Right? They're like the Brooklyn Dodgers of the NFL in a sense, but Brooklyn was even better than what the Jets have put out. You know what I mean? The Jets have been a bad team for a long time, Jeff. And I think that we had one little time in the last 30 years where they were somebody relevant. That's when Rex Ryan was there trying to be the biggest star on the team. And now we have the same situation going again. It's almost deja vu all over again. I feel like Salah is like Eric Mangini. Aaron Rodgers is Brett Favre. And I remember the Jets, it was a big deal. It was a big, big deal. Wasn't Revis still with the Jets at that time?
Revis Island.
Yeah, Revis Island was still there at the time. and they had all this big hype going into the season and all these expectations, and they wanted to sign every big name that there was in the NFL to make sure that their fans were happy and that they were showing that they were trying to be a sufficient NFL team and all that good stuff. I feel like the Jets really shot themselves in the foot, to be honest with you. I know this is very unpopular, but I like Zach Wilson. I think the kid is good. I just thought your coach was bad. The guy that was throwing out his plays to him. Also, I felt like he had no playmakers there with him as well either. But when he had Brees Hall there, he made life a lot easier for Zach Wilson. And that is what the Jets need to move forward to be a great team this year. I keep trying to get people to understand. I know y'all want it to be a pass, and pass some more league. But Jeff, like I know, there's certain teams that have traditions on how they're really good teams. And some teams like the Dolphins, they're really good when they're passing, when they got a elite quarterback. They're awesome. You know what I mean? Because the weather, all that stuff calls for it. And when the Browns, they've rarely been good over the last 30 years. But when they were a superior team in the NFL, they had a great running game. And every time they're a team that's relevant in the NFL actually winning games, they have a great running game. So I'm just going off the fact that teams have certain traditions to it that fit their teams. It's just that's going to help their team go. And the Jets are the type of team that need to have a great running back. The John Riggins of the world, the Curtis Martins of the world. And they can make this thing go for this team. And Sean Green, when he was there with LaDainian Tomlinson, they were a good team. They were a team that you actually had to take a little seriously. The Jets' biggest thing for them, their defense has to stay intact. Their defense is going to have to carry them most of the year because Aaron Rodgers is not the Aaron Rodgers from 5 years ago. You're dealing with a 40-year-old man now, and he's not like Brady. Because Brady actually keeps putting in the work, was actually putting in the work every summer. This goofball goes off and does retreats and does, regular people stuff. And everybody was getting blamed in Green Bay but him. But now we're out of Green Bay, and now you have to be accountable. It's that simple. And I feel like he is going to be the biggest detriment to this team. That's why I'm like, Zach Wilson, get ready. Because Rodgers is one snap away from the season being over. He's very fragile. I wouldn't say injury prone, but he does seem to break things pretty easily. And he's at the age now, you're not going to be able to move forward with a broken toe. Okay? So I truly do feel this Jets team is all air, very gassed up, in my opinion. Now, I think they're doing too much, giving them 9.5, Jeff. So I'm going to have to go ahead and say they're going under. They'll probably win 9 games this year, maybe, but they're going under 9.5 games easily, and they're not winning a division championship. They can make the playoffs. They can sneak in, maybe, but they're not winning this division, though. I don't have them winning this division at all, because I just feel like you're not going to be able to beat the Patriots. You're not going to be able to beat the Bills, and you'll probably have some. You'll probably Dolphins could be a sweep because you've had their number, but Dolphins can beat you too. So there it goes again, another 3-3 team possibly, Jeff, but they're more like a 2-4 team in conference to me. Your thoughts?
I agree with what you're saying. They're going to go as far as Brees Hall takes them because it's all about the start of the season. They open up at home. I think it's Sunday night against the Bills. Bills are now -2, 2.5 in some spots. So, like I said, with the Patriots and Eagles, even though it's not a divisional game, if Rodgers and company at home, the big stage, big spotlight, lay an egg, Buffalo makes a statement. Well, here we go. And I think then they travel to Dallas the second week. They do not have an easy start of the season. So Aaron Rodgers, who's a big front runner, starts the year 1-4, 2-5. Well, thanks for playing. Now, I read today that they think Brees Hall will be ready for week 1. Their defense, they need to recreate the New York Sack Exchange, the Kleckos of the world, the Gastineaus of the world when they were big and they were playing well. So I'm not buying the sizzle here. 9.5, I think it's a decent number. I could see 9 and 8 all day. If they get out to that 4-2 start, well, then they'll probably get up and over this number. I'm not buying it. 9.5 is a great number. Today, I'd say under 9.5 division champs. No thanks. I mean, Garrett Wilson is ready to take on and be Devontae Adams for Rodgers. They brought over Lazard, they brought over Cobb, they brought a couple of his old toys with them. I think Garrett Wilson has a big year, and again, if Breece Hall can stay healthy and their defense plays well, they'll be competitive with Rodgers. But there's a lot of ifs there. If Breece Hall comes back too early and he gets hurt again, no, because Rodgers got to throw the ball 30, 40 times a game. He won't be standing upright, and he can't move. He doesn't look to run 8, 9, 10, 12, 15 yards. He'll just throw it away and shake his head like it was someone else's fault. So I'll go under the 9.5 and a big no for division champs.
And see, that's my thing. It's like he was able to get away with that type of behavior in Green Bay because they was Messiah, OMG, we need you. But in New York, bro, if it's on you and they see it's on you, they're going to tear you up. And can you handle that? That's the whole thing. Varv thought he could handle that, couldn't handle that. Sanchez thought he could handle that, couldn't handle that. And looking at and knowing who Aaron Rodgers is right now, he's probably not going to be able to handle that either at the end of the day. So it is what it is. And what we're going to do real quick, we're going to take a quick commercial break. And when I get back, we're going to go through the NFC East because I know Jeff is excited about that one. So much to talk about with the NFC East. You know what I mean? Because, Eagles, Cowboys, New York Giants, and the Washington, we're going to say the Redskins, okay, just so we can be right about it. But we know this is the media division. Everybody should always know this is the media division. It doesn't matter how bad the NFC East is going to be. The media is always going to cover it because they have the 4 biggest syndicates covering any type of news. You got the Philly paper, the DC paper, the New York paper, and the Dallas paper, and all the tri-state area papers. So there it is. All right, so you guys stay tuned. This is the NFL Bet Exchange with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and Mr. Jeff Dawson.
Good News Only Racing Club, led by the legendary Doug O'Neill, the trainer of 2 Kentucky Derby winners and I'll Have Another and Nyquist. Also trained 2-time Breeders' Cup champ Golden Sense, who are just a part of a long list of thoroughbred champions trained by Doug O'Neill. The Good News Only Racing Club has a young core of horses to look out for in Dennis's Celery, Irish Heatwave, and Notre Dame, just to name a few. Win the day every day with the Good News Only Racing Club, a proud sponsor of the NFL Bet Exchange.
From the East and the West, you've heard others, but now you've tuned into the best. This is a Prime Wave Media production.
Tune into Big Wave Boxing every week with a brand new guest with the one and only Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, getting the best boxing stories, best boxing angles, and the truth when it all comes down to the sweet science. Tune in to Big Wave Boxing on the Prime Wave Media channel on YouTube.
All right, we're back with the premier sports betting show. Oh, shit. The NFL Bet Exchange. They're all premier sports betting shows. You know what I mean? So, but this is the NFL Bet Exchange. I got to get used to it. I'm so sorry. But let's go ahead, jump into our next group. And, man, this one should be a fun one because it's the Cowboys, the most popular team in the NFL. Nobody can even argue that. Well, you know what? I would say that Raider fans can argue that because I think the most intense, most illogical fans are in both fan bases. They're literally their brother and sister, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like they started in the same. Well, they're not even brother and sister. They're the evil twin brothers of the NFL. You know what I mean? One has black and one is silver and black. The other is silver and blue. So modern day Cain and Abel. So pretty much you have the Cowboys who always are going to be the talk of the division. This team is a special. You special when everybody in the division is your rival. How many teams can really say that, Jeff? I think there's only 3 teams that can truly say the whole division is their rival. I would say Pittsburgh, Dallas, and the Raiders. Like everybody literally hates you. You know what I mean? Out the group, but that means because you win. So pretty much, you look at the Cowboys, and it's the same old damn song. Dak Prescott, is he finally going to take us to a conference championship game? No more Zeke. Now we're going to rest all of our laurels on Tony Pollard, a guy with the snapped leg. All right. What's next? CeeDee Lamb. Oh my God, he wears number 88, so he's going to be the next Hall of Famer on the team. Okay. What else? We got Zach Martin. He's your most valuable player, but for some odd reason, Jerry doesn't want to pay him. Oh, okay. Same old scenario, same old song with the Dallas Cowboys. When does it ever end? And then you got this defense. You got Micah Parsons, who thinks he's the next Reggie White, who thinks he's Bruce Smith reborn. And the guy overplays so much. It's just, damn, do you have a brain up there? Because he's a physical specimen. But I've seen him make some mistakes in games where it cost the Cowboys the game. So how great are you truly of a player? I think that the biggest problem with the Dallas Cowboys is everybody's ego gets too boosted on that team. Everybody just thinks because the people in that area, the Dallas Fort DF Dub, they treat them like they're gods. And that's where they get this concept that they're actually elite situation in the NFL. And it's an absolute joke, Jeff, in my opinion. So when I look at this team being the same old damn song, over under 10, championship, well, this year they're not the big favorite to win it. The last 5 years, they were all the big favorite to win the division. This year, you're getting plus money on them. The Cowboys literally are their own worst enemy. To me, the Cowboys control their own destiny as usual every year. It's up to them to do great things, but we know they won't. What are your thoughts?
I on paper, which we will get to, the Philadelphia Eagles are the best team in the division. They're the best team in the NFC. Some might think they're the best team in football. I want to say they had the perfect storm last year. We'll get to them. The Cowboys, America's team, worth $1 billion. Danny White, Roger Staubach is not walking through there. Troy Aikman is not walking through the shit. Tony Romo isn't walking through there. It's Dak Prescott's team. Will Zeke come back there? I don't know. Maybe. Tony Pollard coming off an injury. Dak's Binky, Dalton Schultz, now playing for the Texans. CeeDee Lamb. They add Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, couple Ferguson and someone else at tight end, and then the defense, Micah Parsons, Diggs, Cooper Rush. Cooper Rush saved the season last year. Dak goes down, the season's over, and I think he went 5-1. Today on this show, I would say I would take the plus 140. I saw as high as plus 160 at one point for Dallas to win this division. Now, do I expect them to? Well, if I keep saying I think Philly could get picked off week 1 and Dallas could win opening day in the Giants, that could flip-flop after game 1. There's a lot of question marks. Jerry has now turned the play calling to Mike McCarthy. The OC Kellen Moore now with the Chargers. So this ought to be, they want to go back to a ground and pound. They want to go to a lot of RPOs with Dak running the ball even more. So for this show today, I would take them as division champs. Under over 10, I think 10-7 is not out of the question. Could I see an 11-6? I can. There's a lot of wild cards in this division with Washington and the Giants. If healthy, I think they are the team to beat, just because I don't expect the Eagles to repeat. And as you and I both know, it's been forever since there's been a repeat champion for division-wise in this division. So I today lean Dallas to win this division.
I like it. And you know what? And Dallas, and I'm only frustrated with Dallas because Jeff knows we've been doing this. This is our 4th year going into this show. The last 3 years, I picked this team to win the division. They've won the division 2 out of 3 of those years. But I've also picked this team to be in the conference championship, and I'm just fed up. You know what I mean? I'm like Dallas Cowboy fan, real Dallas Cowboy fans, not the ones that are just hoping and wishing. But I'm just fed up with it. And I'm not a Cowboys fan, so let's not get things twisted. But I'm just fed up with the underachieving. You know what I mean, Jeff? So they really do got to step it up because these guys don't have too much more time. They're getting older as is. You know what I mean? And you want to see things go well. And then you say they want to go back to having a running game. And ask myself, okay, you want to go back to having a running game, but you got rid of Zeke. So what are we doing here? You know what I mean? And I just don't get it. And I think that the Cowboys, just don't confuse yourself. And I think that possibly they can go with the motions and they will be the team to beat. They're always the team to beat in the East, period, point blank. And I think that should be on everybody's head.
I think also the fact that Ronald Jones has got a 2 or 3 game suspension. They do have Malik Davis. They have that little water bug, Deuce Vaughn. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if Zeke heads back to Dallas, Dalvin Cook heads back to Minnesota. I wouldn't be shocked there. I said tongue-in-cheek wise, Zeke, why don't you just follow what Emmett did and go to Arizona and just ride off into the sunset, because there's an opening there in Arizona. They don't want to spend the money because they're going to be fighting for the number 1 pick next year anyways. But again, they have a lot of question marks. Like we talked about the Jets and Breece Hall, this is even bigger because Tony Pollard's a bigger cog in their offense than Breece is in New York. So a lot of question marks. Their defense is going to have to carry them for a while. But Dak, again, can't lead the NFL in interceptions. He's having a rough camp as it is right now. But game time, if they're running a lot more, they're doing a lot more RPOs, he's not forcing the issue. I want to see, without Dalton Schultz, who picks up that slack. I think Brandon Cooks is a sneaky addition there. I do. CeeDee Lamb, great wide receiver, maybe top 5, top 7 in the league. But he tends to disappear sometimes as well. So it's their division to win, I think. I really do. But a lot of people in Philly will say otherwise.
Oh, they're going crazy in Philly about their team right now. You know that, Jeff. They're going crazy about these boys right now. And they up in there, they're already prepared for the championship game in Philadelphia this year, all that stuff. We haven't even played a game yet, and they're just hell-bent on that. But we'll get to them in a second. Let's talk about it. Giants, 9-7-1. New York Giants, 22. Didn't we talk about the Giants a little bit yesterday?
A little.
No, we didn't. Didn't we talk about them a little bit?
Very briefly.
Okay. Well, the Giants, Brian DeBall, he's the end-all, be-all for me with them this year. It all depends on how they respond to his coach this year. They responded very well to his coaching last year. But this is a new year. This is a new season. You got a disgruntled running back coming back there who's been disgruntled for the last few years, but he's been able to put that to the side when it comes to playing the game of football. Will he be able to put that to the side this year? That's the biggest question, because now the pressure's on. Because if he does show improve and has another great season, now you have to break the bank and pay him. Now, if he winds up getting hurt, something of that nature, his career might be over. It's and I hate to talk like that as well too, but he's chasing big money, and this is what happens when you're chasing big money. You got to take a couple little gambles and things like that. Then you have a quarterback that hopefully he doesn't get too comfortable because he's been overpaid. We know that Daniel Jones is got a king's ransom for a contract, but that's because he has a good agent and he took advantage of the system. That's all it is. He just took advantage of the system. If you look at this contract compared to other quarterbacks in the NFL, it's a pretty cheap contract, but it's a lot of money for a guy that is bordering backup status. So the thing is, the Giants are going to have to really do what they have to do every year. Look to the defense to be the group, to be the superior group, to be the leaders of the team. As I always like to say, my old adage about the Baltimore Ravens when Ray Lewis was there, a walk with me defense. And everybody says, what's a walk with me defense? That means when your offense is so lousy that the defense literally has to hold your hand and walk you through the game. And that means the answer to that, the definition means that your defense plays so well, your offense just has to do the little things. They just have to do enough, and you'll win the game. And so pretty much you don't want the Giants to have that mentality this year, because if they do have that mentality this year, this team is going to win 4 games. Okay? It's that simple. They have to be able to play some offense, and that's going to come back to Saquon Barkley. It doesn't matter what you feel about Daniel Jones and all that good stuff. This team only moves if Saquon moves. It's that simple. If Saquon's having a bad game, the rest of y'all going to have a bad game. If Saquon's having a great game, you're probably going to win that game. So that's what it's came down to with the New York Giants at the end of the day. So when I look at this one, Jeff, I say to myself, the over 7.5 looks very doable. And the 6-1 division championship might be one of the better odds that you see on a team that's you consider a dark horse as well, too. I like it. I like it a lot. And I actually like the Giants to take the next step, because I'm looking at my man Saquon Barkley and say, use this as your motivation. Use it as your motivation. Jim Brown just passed away. You know what I mean? And he got rolled off into the sunset because he had a stupid owner. You don't have to do that. You are in the same type of position Jim was in, but it's different because you're trying to get paid. So just know, you have a great season. Find something else to do during the summertime if they're going to play with your money. It's that simple. So this season is really banked upon the efforts of Saquon Barkley. And I feel like Saquon Barkley is going to have the best seasons he's ever had, Jeff, in my opinion. And I really, really like the Giants moving forward, because I feel like they have the best defense for the future. They got a good group over there that playing defense, and they locked up all their key players. So guys are happy. So we'll see how it goes. Your thoughts?
The 6-1 obviously is appetizing. I mean, you only got to beat 3 teams. I mean, listen, they've had some shining moments back in the past, living off the defense. Offensively, Daniel Jones got paid. Barkley pissed off, chip on his shoulder. They add Darren Waller, which could be a big, big add at tight end. They brought in a speedster with Jalen Hyatt. They have some good offensive weapons. Again, you said it best with the offense has to lead the defense. The defense can't be on the field, 40 minutes to 20 minutes here, the old 3 and out. Daniel Jones last year got effective by using his feet, win the turnover battle. They're in a division where, if you can win the 2 games against Washington, if you can find the split, they open up at home, 3.5-point underdogs to Dallas. So again, an upset win against Dallas. could take them a long, long way here. I like the over 7.5 as well, and I'd sprinkle a little beer and pizza money on 6-1. You don't know. They could get out 2-0, 3-0, and shock the world as the Eagles might get upset. Dallas gets upset. Don't forget, Dallas again opens up in New York, and then they come home to face, which could be an 0-1 and upset Aaron Rodgers, who has done historically pretty well in Dallas. So I like where your eyes and your head are there. I think it's a team moving in the right direction. Injuries a big thing there too. Waller a big addition there. Hopefully the rookie wide receivers do well as well, and Daniel Jones might take that next step as well.
Yep. So we're somewhat on the same page. So I know all my New York people, all my New York Giants fans are probably gonna be like, "Man, that's my man right there. That's my guy right there, man. He rocking with us." And you know what? I just like the Giants. I liked them last year. I like their attitude. I like the way that they play as a team together. I like the way that they play for each other. You guys, a lot of people don't ever talk about the way these really good teams play for each other. They really go out there and try to win for each other. They're not worried about winning for the fans. They're not worried about winning for that silly coach. They're worried about winning for each other. And that's what the champions do. You know what I mean? The guys looking for their bonuses and incentives, they win for themselves. You know what I mean? They ain't worried about nothing else but themselves. But the guys that really play to win for their teams, those are the teams that we really need to latch on to and really support in the NFL. So with that, let's go ahead and well, we brought them up 4 times already. And now we can just talk about them in full blast. That's going to be the Philadelphia Eagles. 14-3 last year, Jeff. Absolute incredible run last year. They lost 2 division games. They lost to the Cowboys, of course. Then they lost that game to the Commanders, who everybody thought the Commanders had shown us the defensive playbook on how you stop Hurts, but it really wasn't. It just was a divisional rival game. And then you know what? I think the most thorough game that they really were out of wits with and out of place with, Saints. They got dominated by the Saints in that third loss of the season. And I think that pretty much when you look at the Eagles right now, it's a lot of hype that's going into this situation. It's a lot of different elements that play into this version of the Eagles. Now they're without both their defense and offensive coordinators, who I felt like were analytical guys anyway. And then they have a head coach that is pretty much a robot. He acts like he's not, but the computer pretty much calls all the plays. Let's just keep it real. Howie Roseman feels like he's the head coach of the team. Let's just he thinks he's the quarterback. To be honest with you, you know how I've never seen a general manager take that much credit for the guys he drafted. You know what I mean? And I always say, yeah, you saw the talent, but that guy had to show up. So it's really on that guy to show up. You know what I mean? So let's not play the game like you're some messiah of drafting, because you're not. You know what I mean? And I feel like the Eagles did very well last year, but they went over and beyond the true expectations of what they truly were supposed to be. And sometimes when you overachieve, it happens with a big fall the next year around. We've seen this movie before, Jeff. Carolina Panthers. Remember them? Dominant offensive line, dominant defensive line. Defense is just remarkable. They came back the next season, barely made the playoffs. Jalen Hurts is just like Cam Newton. He's doing everything perfect. He's doing everything right. Everything's going with everything's just going so well. But can he really put the ball on the money when it's time to put the ball on the money? Can he really make those tight throws in those tight windows? The guy gets a lot of help because he has 2 exceptional wide receivers. If you give him the wide receivers that were on the Houston Texans last year, he has the same record as the Texans from last year. So there's a lot of things that help this ultimate team. They are an ultimate team. But this year, their coach has to show us that he knows what he's doing out there and not just out there making faces on the sideline. Because now he has to be more accountable. And when they make mistakes, they're not going to blame the team. They're going to blame him. And I don't know if he has the real withal to be that type of coach. I think that he got a little lucky last year, and he knows that. Now he has to show us, does he really know what he's doing out there? And we've been at this movie before. We've been here before, where you get excited about this new young coach, and he feels right, but then things just don't go the way that you want it to go. And do they look like a team that can get back to the Super Bowl? Of course. They're built for that. But when I look at who they truly are and know their history, I know that the Eagles are going to regress next year. I know this year. And I look at this 11 and a half, and it's an absolute just ha-ha, Jeff, in my opinion. Minus 165 to win the division, ha-ha. It's hilarious because you're overvaluing them. You shouldn't do that. Yes, they have great players, but they're all a year older. And this team was very fortunate that everybody stayed healthy. I don't see that happening this year, Jeff, because we've been doing way too much hanging out this summer. We've been doing way too many podcasts and all these other extra things that all these elite teams do when they get to Super Bowls and don't win them. They start reading their press clippings a little bit too much, and I feel like the Eagles are going to fall victim to that. They've never been a consistent team to the point to where they've been able to give us 5 years of greatness. You know what I mean? I know you thinking like, but the McNabb years, the NFC East was absolutely terrible at that time. Come on, let's keep it real. There was nobody good in that division at that time. I think the Cardinals were still in the division at that time. So, when I look at this, I say to myself that this one is definitely a team that I see going under 11 and a half. And hell no, I don't want that minus 165 for a division championship. Y'all can keep that. You can have that. But that's my thoughts. How you taking this one, Jeff?
As I stated, it's a fantasy football dream. Jalen Hurts, that quarterback sneak where they circle around him. NFL was going to take it out of the picture this year. They didn't. A.J. Brown, Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert. They get rid of their running backs. They're like, well, we'll bring in DeAndre Swift, Rashard Penny. They still have Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott. They have half of the Georgia defense and they have half of their defense. I mean, where can they go wrong? On paper, they're the team to beat. But as we like to say in our lanes, they're overpriced. They could walk into New England and win 34-7. They have that type of team. They could walk out of there losing 24-13. You said it best. We have the blueprint now. We have how to beat the Eagles. It's easy to be a front runner when everything's going great. It is puppies, cupcakes, and unicorns. Let's see what happens when you got to handle a little adversity. And they had the dream year, the team to beat. And listen, on paper, yeah, they are. The NFC this year, no Rodgers, no Brady. Now there's like a changing of the guard, the Eagles, the 49ers. People want to talk about Dallas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I, too, will go under the 11.5. I will say no to the minus 165. We will also talk about the fact that if they start slow and Dallas starts hot, give me the plus money once after week 2 or 3 when they're a game back, maybe game and a half back. And that minus 165 turns into a plus 125. I'll take my swing then. But at this price, no thanks.
Man, and you already know, and I'm not trying to be a big juicy Eagles hater or anything like that. It's just that I know the Eagles and I know how this is setting up right now for this team. And I know that they still got to deal with the Cowboys. They still got to deal with the Giants. They still got to deal with the Commanders. And when you look at their schedule, they're playing against the East this year. So that's going to be even tougher as well too. You're going down to places like Miami where you always have struggles in Florida. You're going to places like Buffalo where you have had struggles with them. You're going to a place like you're going to go play the Jets. It's going to be tough this year. It's not everybody knows what's coming. So that's why it's like you have to take they're not going to be a team that you're going to overlook. They're going to be a team that you circle that you want to beat. And it's tough to be in these spots. You're not going 14-3. That's just simple. You can win over 10 games, but 14-3, that was last season. And that was because the schedule, let's keep it real. The first 10 games of that schedule, anybody could have went 9-1 if they had on an elite status. Look at their schedule. Seriously, look at the schedule, and then we can talk. Because I looked at that schedule, Jeff, and I brought it up every single week for 3 weeks straight. They're not playing anybody. But it's about who they throw in front of them. They're not playing anybody. You're not playing anybody. It's that simple. You know what I mean? And then when you got the hard part of your schedule, you lost 3 games.
I mean, look at the playoff run. You know, they faced a Giants team who they dismantled, and then they faced the San Francisco team with on the first drive or the second drive had no starting quarterback. They were down to the third string quarter. McCaffrey was quarterbacking. You know, and listen, you can talk about the call, the no call. Yes, you were 15 minutes away from winning the Super Bowl, just like Joe Burrow was against the Rams, and we can bring up other situations, okay? You lost. You had a great year, a great regular season. You were the NFC champs, and you won the first 45 minutes of the Super Bowl. You didn't win the last 15 minutes. And so now, again, we haven't even brought up the Super Bowl hangover, and that will see how strong this team is mentally, physically. You know, how do you handle adversity? Do you take that last 15 minutes, bring it with you into the offseason, and take it out on everyone else? You know, because you now are the hunted. You have the target on your back. The Dallases of the world, the San Franciscos of the world, and the other elite or so-called elite teams, the NFC, are all targeting you. You're going to be favored in every game this year. Every game this year, you're going to be favored. So remember that. So we'll see what happens come playoff time.
All right, Jeff. I see you getting antsy. We down to the last one. We down to the last one.
I'm just checking my cord. That's all.
Okay, because I know I used a little bit more extra time than I needed to, but you know how it goes with us. But Washington Commanders, brand new owners and everything like that. Okay, and I love the Magic Man. You know, that's like my big cousin right there. You know, I love Magic. He like an uncle, cousin, something to me. But at the end of the day, I just want to school y'all real quick. Magic is not the owner of the Washington Commanders, okay? He's a part of the group, but he's not the owner. So don't run on the Twitter telling Magic what he needs to fix and what he needs to do with this, that, because there's somebody that he answers to as well, too. The guy who actually owns the team is Ryan Burton or something like that. But as long as they didn't give the team to Jeff Bezos, I think that Daniel Snyder is really, really, really happy. You know, because Jeff Bezos was ready to just destroy whatever tradition the Washington Commanders had. You know what I mean? With a bunch of just wokeness. You know what I mean? We felt it coming to it. It was like, whoo, we dodged the bullet there. Because he was coming with so many unneeded people too. Like, does that person even watch football? Like, we're just trying to bring in people so we can just be piss people off. Like, no, don't do that. Don't do that. You know what I mean? America, we got to do better. But let's talk about it. Quarterback situation. Sam Howell. Sam Howell is seen as the quarterback of now. The quarterback of the future, we'll see. But I don't think that they even thinking that he's the quarterback of the future. I think that they're saying quarterback of now. They knew that they were about to sell the team, so they didn't go crazy on getting a big dollar quarterback, big dollar situation in the draft. You know, they could have easily moved up, got CJ Stroud, you know, because literally almost, let's keep it real. The Texans were damn near forced to go get him. You know, and I know everybody's like, what do you mean? I was at the draft, dude. Like, literally, They only wanted to get the defense. They only wanted to get the kid from Alabama. They were always going to draft the kid from Alabama, but they made that deal happen. So that's how they got CJ. You know what I mean? Because, at the end of the day, they were willing to go ahead and do another year with just whatever with the guy that they got now from Stanford, or they were willing to take somebody later on in the draft. You know what I mean? They weren't so sold on CJ Stroud, and we know that everything is all said and done now, but they weren't that sold on him. You know what I mean? And pretty much people can sit up there and they can say he's so ready, he's so this, so that, but none of them are ready. It doesn't matter. Peyton Manning wasn't ready when he came to the NFL. Philip Rivers was able to have a good situation, him and Ben Roethlisberger, but they weren't that ready either. But they were just able to manage very well. That's why they were able to keep their jobs. But that goes back to what I'm talking about. Sam Howell is a great game manager. Sam Howell is going to play at least 60 to 70% of the games this year as their quarterback. I think, if anything, if he goes out as the quarterback, it's because he's going to get hurt. And I think Washington has told themselves, we don't have high expectations this year. All right. They were trying to get rid of everybody who was a high dollar player. Everybody. They brought back Sweat, but they wanted to get rid of Chase Young. Chase Young was a highly coveted pass rusher coming out of college, and he was seen as a phenomenal player coming to Washington. And he did some phenomenal things before blowing his knee up. And they got his medical report, so that's why they're kind of like, we might not, we really can't have this guy anymore. But I still think that he's a very serviceable player, and I think that he's going to be very good for him this year because he got some motivation. They're saying that he's washed, and hasn't even been in the league that long. But when I look at this situation with Washington just doesn't give me anything to get excited about, Jeff. The only thing that I can say for them, for this division, to be honest with you, they have the best coach. Ron Rivera is the best coach in the division, straight up, because he can take a little bit of nothing and he can still win 7-8 games with that group. You know what I mean? We saw what he did in Carolina, and we saw what he's done in Washington. So when you look at a coach like Ron Rivera and the way that he can get teams to rally around him, Washington's going to always have a chance. And them having 6.5 up here, I think that that's an absolute slam dunk to go over. Yeah, they might finish last place, but they're gonna be in the playoff picture too. The NFC's wide open, Jeff. Let's keep it real. Everybody's gonna have some say in the NFC until about week 11. All right, so Washington is not a playoff team this year, but they're a spoiler. They're a team that can cover. They're a money team, as I like to say. Money teams don't have to win or lose. They don't have to win to make you money. And I feel like Washington's going to be one of those teams that they're going to make 8.5-point dogs, 9.5-point dogs, and then they only lose by 3. Every game is close, or they wind up getting a win for you. So Washington is not to be slept on, but that 10-1 is there for a reason. And I wouldn't, and no, this ain't no, I put a little bit of, no, I ain't putting a little bit of nothing on it. But I will put something on that over 6.5, though. I think that's what? Minus 120? So I think that'll work. Your thoughts?
Rumblings in camp, Eric Bieniemy kind of cracking the whip. Ron has been very polite on some of the rumblings from some of the players. So Eric trying to make his stamp already. Offensively, Sam Howell, you talked about Brian Robinson and Antonio Gibson in the backfield. Terry McLaurin, love the kid. Jahan Dotson, that's a name to keep out for Penn State. Expect big things from him. Curtis Samuel, sneaky there. A defense that you talked about where they were trying to move Chase Young and didn't get the right price. They might still move him. Who knows there? Tough division. I think they're moving in the right direction. Let's get back to the Redskins name there. The 6.5, I think, is spot on. Could they be 7-9? Could they be, last year they were 8-1. I don't know how far Sam Howell will take them. Keep an eye on Jacoby Brissett as well as they're leaving them there. There could be a middle of the season trade if someone needs a quarterback there and Sam's doing well. They could have a bad year and be in the quarterback sweepstakes next year. So it'll be interesting. I think they'll be competitive. I agree with you. I think they'll be undervalued in a lot of spots. They're overvalued week one. I think 6.5 point favorites against Arizona, if I remember correctly off the top of my head, which they're being overpriced. Is that right? Hold on. I want to make sure of that. I don't want to say something here and I'm wrong. Give me 1 second, Pops, because that number stood out to me like it seemed a little high. Commanders, 6 point favorites against Arizona opening day. They'll be Washington will be on a lot of people's suicide pools to start the first week of the tournament. Anyone in the Circa Westgate or anything like that as well. So keep an eye. I think offensively they'll be okay. Don't forget, Bieniemy loved the dump into the backs. Antonio Gibson, for all the fantasy guys, could have some fun this year. I like Dotson. Obviously, I like Terry. Samuel sneaky. Moving in the right direction. Won't be division champs. That 10-1 is there for a reason. Keep them on spoiler alert, Pops. That's how I'll finish that. How's that?
All right. And I like that. And, pretty much we got to respect where they're coming from because they're going to be playing in a tough division. That division is going to be really, really tough at the end of the day. And they're going to give teams fits. And they're going to get one of those wins that nobody sees coming when somebody comes to DC thinking that, they've lost 4 in a row, so we'll tear up the Commanders today. No. You wind up losing the game by 17 points. So, be ready for that. And you just said it too, Jeff. Don't fall for the hook. Don't fall for that Arizona Washington madness because you guys already know every game in DC goes to the wire opening weekend. Every single one, every single time. So, I wouldn't. That's one of those ones where probably he's going to be going on Pop's dog pick 4 week 1. You know what I mean? Jeff over here already throwing me winners because I did it. It wasn't last year, but it was a few years ago with the Titans. Not Titans, the Texans. Nobody was giving the Texans a shot at all. They went in there and they beat who was it the opening day? It was the Jaguars, I think, opening day, and they were a big dog too that day, like 3.5. But I had them at like plus 165. So, having fun, that's how it goes. But all in all, though, that's going to be it for today's show. We'll be back next week. We'll be talking about the North next week. Yeah, it's the North. We'll be talking AFC, NFC North next week. That should be a lot of fun. And we'll be back. So, Jeff, where can they catch you at?
On Twitter or X or whatever the hell you want to call it today at EC Sports Invest. You can go to our website at eastcoastsportsinvestors.com. If you need to send me an email, you can send it to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. All the other social medias, the YouTubes, the Facebooks, the Instagrams, the TikToks at East Coast Sports Investors.
And there it is. So, Jeff, one of the best to do this, and pretty much you're in good hands when you're dealing with the NFL Bet Exchange. So just know that, and that, pretty much if you like to win, you'll be tuning in. It's that simple, So, but if you want to just keep losing and, being pissed off every Sunday, just watch ESPN or FS1 or one of the people, Colin Cowherd,
The Blazing 5.
Yeah, the Blazing 5. Keep following the Blazing 5 and see how far that's going to get you. All right. So with that, thank you so much. This is the NFL Bet Exchange, and I'm your host, Pop DiBiase, the primetime capper, and the Don of Cape Cod himself, Mr. Jeff Dawson, and we are gone.
Thank you for tuning in to the NFL Bet Exchange, where the sharpest bets are laid. This show was produced by the Prime Wave Media Group.